Hey folks, Pallet here, back with another Minecraft video. If this is your first time visiting the channel, welcome in. If you've seen some of my videos before, welcome back. And to all of you, I'm glad you're here. The last couple of weeks, I've been working on a lot of projects here on the server. Some that I would classify as kind of smaller projects, and some, at least one, that may be my first attempt at what I would call a mega build. It's kind of a big project. It's something I've been putting a lot of resources and a lot of time into, and I'm really excited to show you how far I've come with it. It's not finished yet, but it's really shaping up nicely. To start off, we're going to jump over to one of the ocean monuments that I've already drained, and we're going to just take a quick look at some of what I term the smaller builds. Some things that I'm still proud of, things that I'm really happy with how they've turned out, but just not quite on the same scale as this other big project that I've got in mind. So let's start small, we'll build from there, and we will head on over to that ocean monument right now. So here we are approaching the Desert Ocean Monument. This was the second ocean monument that I drained, and I decided uh, to theme the area down here as kind of a desert biome. You may have seen some of this in a previous video where I talked about the automated farms that I've got down here and the progress, the work that it took to completely drain this area and get the ocean monument ready. But I've been adding a few things down here, and, well, right there is the first one. I took inspiration from something I saw on Hermitcraft, one of Gemini Tay's videos. She had added some palm trees in, and palm trees aren't, of course, unique to Hermitcraft. Lots of people had done palm trees, but I thought, palm trees would add an excellent little sort of, plant life down here that's just not the normal sort of tree. So what I've done is I've used some jungle wood and some leaf blocks, and in a couple of them, let's see, yeah, right there, we've got some cocoa beans as coconuts up top. But we've also got, in addition to some kind of custom vegetation down here, we've got the start of a small village. Now, this house right here is the first one that I built, and I've got to say, this is probably the happiest I have been with almost any creation of my own on here. I started off following a lot of tutorials, learning from other people's builds, and I'm still doing that. I'm still looking at other YouTubers, at people that post on Reddit. I'm finding so many ideas, so many sources of inspiration for my builds, and that's kind of what I did here. Was I looked at what other people had done for desert homes, and I took some ideas, just little things from each one. Some of like the little crenellations with the buttons on them, and the flat roof styles, and maybe just a little bit of stone that comes out and forms a decorative edge on the wall. Just things like that, picking up little tips here and there. And of course, since this is kind of a desert area, instead of windows, we have kind of window grates to allow for more airflow, maybe help keep these buildings a little cooler inside. Let's go in and take a look. Not a whole lot of space down here, but we've got a small little kitchen in the entryway. Um, Now, I will say this was inspired by a desert house by It's Marlow on YouTube. It's not a straight copy. It's just It's Marlow had a lot of those little features that I learned from and was able to apply them to my own build, so I wanted to give them credit. And as we come up here, of course, we've got, some books alternating with wood blocks in the staircase, and we've got some more windows that look out. This was more for my convenience than anything, because I need an ender chest almost everywhere I go, it seems. Our first bedroom is kind of an outside bedroom. It's out on a little patio area, covered over. I love the look of campfires for roofs, for kind of um, canopies, that sort of thing. They are expensive to make when it comes to the wood resources. You've got to gather quite a bit in order to make those. But we've got this area out here where, again, being in a hotter climate, probably a little more comfortable to sleep outside where you can get a bit of a breeze. We come upstairs, and the top floor is, again, kind of open with a little bit of a canopy here. We can see everything around, and we've got another place to sleep, a little bit of storage. And I'll tell you, the campfire roofs here kind of serve a double purpose. They not only keep the rain off when it rains in this supposedly desert area, but they also keep my idiot villagers from walking off the edge and killing themselves, which is a big problem around here. I have had to villager-proof so many of my builds, as I have observed those villagers just having no sense of self-preservation when it comes to heights. But this house, I was just so happy with how it turned out. I finished this one, and I was showing it to everybody. I called everybody in the house over to look at this, because I was just so amazed. I'm not trying to talk myself up, toot my own horn, but for a guy who started off a year or two ago just following tutorials and then trying to come up with his own builds, I was so happy with how this one turned out. I've got a lot of room to grow still, but yeah, I cannot overstate how happy I am with that house right there. Now, the second house I built was over here around the corner from there. Again, using some of those little tricks that I've learned from YouTubers. Got a small melon garden here. Now, this house, you actually go down kind of underground a little bit for one of the bedrooms. Bedroom and storage, and we've got a couple more beds up here. Looks like I am interrupting somebody's nap, and it is getting to be nighttime, so we may sleep here. But I want to show you the rest of this house first. I wanted to put the main kind of living area up here on the roof, again with a bit of a canopy. We've got space to cook, space to prepare food. We've even got a keg up here. The problem with this is that if I allow villagers to come up here, they will jump up on the table and they will walk right off, and I keep getting notifications that somebody's getting hurt. So not only did I have to put a gate up here, but even with the gate, they would hop up on the railing of the stair and get in there. So I wound up having to put these wood slabs on top of the stair railing. I don't think they blend in perfectly, but they were a solution I was happy with in order to keep my villagers alive. Because I did have to import these guys from the main city area. Sounds like one of them is... Yep, I think he's right there. He is hanging out outside. He has a little trouble with pathfinding, I think. But I had to import these villagers from the main city area, where I do have plenty of villagers, but I didn't want to have to keep importing villagers every time one decided to jump off a roof and die. So I've had to, like I said, I've kind of had to villager-proof some of my builds here. You may notice that there are fences all around the base of the Ocean Monument, and that is partly because way over there by the camels, somewhere in that area is a slime chunk, and slimes just keep spawning in, and I was afraid my villagers would get too curious. But that's also why we've got some iron golems here, just to be safe. Now, this was the third build I put in. Just kind of a little lookout tower, even though there's not a whole lot to look out for in here. But it's also a kind of a place where my wandering traders, as they show up, could rest, as people who are traveling to this small village could water their animals, maybe come over here, take a quick dip. I kind of customized a little bit of this pond area, so you got some mud right next to it, going out to dirt, and then back into sand the further away you get. Not the greatest detailing, but I was pretty happy with how it turned out. And of course we've got some dried kelp, some hay around here for feeding your animals. And then up here we've got this wonderful little kind of picnic table with a canopy. This was one that I did want to make sure and give credit for, because I saw this in a post on Reddit by MC Finney as a table with a canopy. I really liked his take on the canopy. The way it incorporates azalea blocks. I think he maybe used regular leaf blocks, I don't remember for sure. But then using trap doors and just making a nice little kind of umbrella to shade your picnic meal here at the table. Now, I've got more work in here that I plan to do. I'm going to put some more houses in. This little outcropping here, I had left in because I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it yet. I've kind of decided that I'm going to remove all of this sandstone. I think I'm going to leave the stone outcropping, but carve a small cave into it and make that a place for some livestock. Maybe bring in some cattle or some horses, maybe some sheep, I don't know. Whatever I've got to, whatever I want, I've got to bring in from another location. And all of my livestock are located a little far away. But yeah, so far I am just thrilled with how this is coming together. We're going to get a few more, at least a few more houses down here. Maybe plant a couple extra crops so that we can get our villagers to start popping out babies and really populating this space down here. And then eventually we're going to get in here, maybe try to spawn-proof the slime block over there, and start putting in maybe some shops. Could be a couple of small apartments down here under the ocean monument, and then start letting the villagers build into the ocean monument. We'll get some beds and some workstations set up in there and see if we can just get this place full of people. Now, I mentioned that I'd had a few small projects that I was working on. This is one group of them, is kind of bringing some life to this desert area down here in the drained ocean monument. The other one is back up at sea level, and it's off in this direction a bit. We're going to take just a moment to head over there, and I will see you in a second. I'll show you the next group of small projects. So here we are at the other site that I mentioned, and you'll probably notice that this site, it just doesn't look as nice as what we were just looking at down in the desert ocean monument area. This area is where I've been building up some of the automated farms that I've needed to provide resources for my building projects. Now, this is... Oh, I'm sure that there are some redstoners that would look at what I've got here and would be absolutely horrified. I do not claim to be an expert at redstoning, and I did what kind of worked in the moment for me, and it still does it. It does the job. It may not be pretty, but it gets the job done. So, first off, right here, we've got the easy 5-minute cobblestone farm by Shulkercraft. You may have seen another cobblestone farm in a previous video of mine that's back by the original walled village. This works on a similar idea. It's just kind of a smaller scale. So we've got some lava that is here in the middle, forming a pool with all of these waterlogged blocks around it. When I go up top, there's a button that will start this whole thing going, and what it does is it basically generates TNT. It'll drop the TNT down, which blows up these non-waterlogged cobblestone. The lava hits the waterlogged blocks, generates new cobblestone, and the cycle just repeats. I would turn it on, but it is loud, it's noisy. I'm sure that if you really want to see it in action, Well, if you want to see it in action, leave a comment. I'll record a short clip showing it to you, but Shulkercraft can probably explain it a lot better than I can. What I've done, though, so everything that Shulkercraft designed was from about this level of chests on up. The TNT duper and the cobblestone generation here between the lava and the waterlogged blocks. What I added on, and again, this is not expert redstone by any stretch, I added on a smelter system. So all of the cobblestone then feeds down into this chest, where you can see right now is full of cobblestone, and it is slowly, very slowly feeding out. It feeds out into these furnaces. These furnaces are fed by coal that would be in these chests if I had a lot of coal, and then it outputs it as regular stone. So because of the number of chests up here, which I think is 4 set up in a circular pattern, I've got 4 different furnaces, so each chest is feeding down, and hopefully that will, I mean, it'll kind of keep up. It doesn't really. The smelting is a lot slower than the cobblestone generator, but for how fast I build, this works just fine. Now, right now, you can see I've got a double chest here that's full, one over here, and then these other 2 double chests are in the process of being filled. Now, you may have noticed I don't have a lot of coal at the moment. My coal is running low. So what all of these hoppers are doing, and we can actually just go over here. I'll show you the other end of what those hoppers are. We have this bamboo farm. Now, this is the same farm design as I use over in the desert ocean monument area for sugarcane generation. This is by iCraftMC. It's his sugarcane or bamboo farm. It just works on a daylight sensor to automatically trigger the pistons, so I don't have to spend the resources on a load of observers. You may be able to hear it, there is a hopper minecart that goes underneath this area, picks up all of the bamboo, and then deposits it, well, it's coming through an item hopper and into these chests here. So what I've done is I found just a basic clock mechanism online. When I turn this on, you'll see it's dispensing out each of those bamboo that have been harvested. Those bamboo are coming under the sand here to a water column, which then feeds down in stages and goes into these hoppers that then drop the bamboo into the fuel chests. And so yeah, a lot of back and forth on this one. But we come down here and we look at these fuel chests, and right now I've got stacks of bamboo sitting waiting to be used as fuel. Now, bamboo is not a very efficient fuel. You don't get a lot done for a single bamboo. So that's kind of my backup. I've only got it going to 2 of the chests at the moment. These other 2 are not part of the bamboo system. I'm still trying to run everything off of coal as much as I can, but I've got the bamboo as a backup. If I run into a severe coal shortage and I absolutely need to get some more stone smelted, I can flip that switch and have all of that bamboo transferred over to begin using as fuel. Now, speaking of fuel, one other option I have is right here. This is a kelp farm. And I want to make sure I give credit for this because I did not come up with this. This is by uforced on YouTube. This one does use a number of observers in there. As the kelp grows up, the observers trigger, break them, very similar to iCraftMC's design over here. We get the kelp dropping in here, and then I've got it going down into a smoker. I've already made some dried kelp blocks to use as fuel here, and it just continually converts the fresh kelp into dried kelp, which then I can go and manually convert. I am running version 1.19, I believe, so I don't have access to the crafters yet. If I had access to the crafters, I would be able to make this pretty much self-sustaining, where that kelp would then go through the crafter, get generated into dried kelp blocks, and then feed that right back in. One day, if we update the server to 1.21, I'll probably add that in. So that is the second of what I would call the smaller projects that I've been working on. If you're curious about this is just an area that I use for growing warped wood, or warped stem. I forget what they call it. Warped stem. I've got this set up so I can put a warped fungus down, use some bone meal, grow it, and then climb up and break it from the top down. I don't know if I've shown this one before in a video or not. It's a very basic setup, and it's just because I like using some of that warped wood with the prismarine blocks that I've got. So now that we have looked at that, I would like to show you the big project I've been working on. Unfortunately, it is nighttime at the moment, and we've got some mobs that like to spawn in this area. The big project is right behind me, though. It is it's something you may have caught a few glimpses of it on the edge of the screen as we've been looking at some of these other things. And there we go. I've got a zombie coming for me. I am going to get out of here real quick. And there's another little bit of a teaser. We're going to sleep, and then I'll give the grand tour of what I consider to be my first actual mega build on this server. Actually, my first ever mega build, period. Like I said, I'm still kind of new at Minecraft, and so the idea of anything more than a small little hut like we've got down here is a bit daunting, and I'm still kind of coming to terms with it. Now, you may notice I have built a bit around the upper rim of this drained ocean monument area, and you can kind of catch a glimpse right up there at this large build I've been talking about. We're going to fly up here a little bit so you can get an idea of the scope. This is a large ring-shaped habitat. I believe the geometric term is a torus. T-O-R-U-S. It's the name for a donut shape. This is going to make a complete circle around this area. The only gaps in it are where it would cross over one of these drained ocean monuments. And that's because I wanted to have kind of some access there and a little bit of open air still over the ocean monument areas. I didn't want to have them like completely covered over. And in this spot, that would have intersected a bit with my Guardian farm here. So made a choice that I wanted almost little docks here. Places where people could come, look out, have a view of the whole area. And then we've got ladder and a kind of a slime block set up here where you can drop straight down. We've had a ladder like that over on the far side since I built this area, and I've added one here now. So I want to give you a better idea of how large this whole project is going to be. From the, I think it's from the outer edge, from one outer edge to the other, is just a little bit shy of 500 blocks. I think from here to the very center of the circle is 244, 245 blocks, something like that, which would make the entire diameter of this 490 blocks across. The interior space is roughly 20 across. The bottom half is all stone, and in fact, we can come out here onto the deck area. The bottom half is all stone and curves around, making the bottom half of the tube. The top half is all glass. For a quarter of the circle, for 90 degrees of this entire circle, I estimate that it takes, I think, a little more than 2 double chests of stone and 2 double chests of glass to completely build it. That's not counting the dirt that I'm using for the livable space here. The dirt takes another double chest or so. I really haven't measured that one out too much. I just go and get more dirt when I run out. So that's why I needed a stone generating farm over there. And we're going to fly through this a little ways. I'll catch a brief look at what I've got done in here. I've also got a smelter that I use for glass. I don't know how many times I have had, or how many shovels I have gone through with Unbreaking 3, Unbreaking 2, Efficiency 3. I don't know how many times I've had to go and repair those shovels just because of the amount of sand that I've had to dig up to enclose this habitat. Now, we're going to get back over here if I can do it without dying. We're just going to give you a quick tour of what we've got finished here. You may have noticed we do have a couple of visitors, or a couple of villagers. Sorry, they're not visitors, they are permanent residents. I actually had one of my villagers from down in here that climbed up the ladder and decided to make a home up top. I've only got one villager left downstairs, so I went ahead and removed the bottom section of ladder just so he wouldn't follow him. It is a little bit of a pain to get new villagers over here, so I'm going to leave that one guy by himself. Eventually we'll get him a buddy to live with. So in our first house here, again, this is another one of my own creations. We're using a lot of prismarine, a lot of spruce wood. We've got some decorative dark prismarine in here. 3 beds for the 3 amigos that we've got hanging out. And I haven't done much up here because, again, my villagers have no sense of self-preservation, and they will walk right off the edge of the roof. As soon as I figure out a way around that, which may include just putting some trap doors down, I'm not sure how I want to, quite how I want to do that yet. We're going to put some more things up here, even if it's just decorative. I don't want a completely empty roof. I want to put something up there. But, yep, we've got an armorer, we've got a leather worker, I forget. We've got a mason. We've got a nice little group of people here. So again, I tried to use some of the same building techniques that I was using in the desert area, just theming it more with the prismarine like I've got going on here in this area. The prismarine, you know, you can see I've got some highlights of warped wood around, and of course spruce, because spruce is just, it's just a cool looking wood. I love spruce. And we've got a little wheat farm here. Next, we've got a well for our villagers to draw water up through. That just goes down into the water. Underneath this dirt area right here, it is just, it's water all the way down to the bottom of the stone. That's mostly because I haven't decided exactly what I'm gonna do with that underneath area yet. I still very well may go down with some sand and some mushrooms and drain all the water out and turn that into livable space as well. I may leave some of it as water. I just haven't decided, so for right now, we're pretending it's not down there. Now we've got a couple more houses over here. I don't have anybody living in these yet. If you're into the whole tiny homes thing, this one would probably suit you pretty well. A couple of beds upstairs with a little bit of storage, and a tiny little living space down here. This house, I wanted to give the people a bit more space. Now I have not, again, fully finished this inside. Went with some purpur blocks because I kind of liked the way that they played off the prismarine. Little keg. First thing you walk in, there's a keg. Must be a frat house. We've got a couch, a couple of nice end tables there, and a view of the ocean. You can sit there and watch the sunset. Upstairs is where we've got the bedroom. And I have not completed this area yet. I haven't quite decided what I want to put in here. If you have any ideas, any suggestions, leave them in the comments. We'll see what we can do to pretty this place up. But in here, we've got double bedroom, a little bit of storage. Still need to put a little bit more in here. Maybe it needs a painting or a rug or something. We'll see. And then we would come down here. As we continue clockwise around the habitat, we have a couple of our farm areas. We've got a nice little wheat farm here. We've got a carrot farm. Of course, we've got my glass farm. As we go around, as I continue building down here, we'll probably add maybe a potato farm, something like that. You notice I do have some trees growing around in here. I had a thought of trying to design this with being a little bit of a slalom course for Elytra in mind. So that you should be able to fly through it, but there are going to be enough obstacles that it makes it a little bit of a challenge. Maybe I should put some banners down as flags that you can try to tag as you go through. Now, we're going to step back outside and try to get a better perspective on this. So, here is the section that I've worked on. There are the trees we were just seeing. And that is all of the unfinished space just in that first 90-degree section, that first quarter of the habitat. Now on this end, we've got the third ocean monument, and I have progressed a little bit on draining that, but most of my effort has been focused on getting as much of the habitat up here finished as possible. You notice I've got lines marked out where this would continue, where the donut shape would go all the way through. I haven't decided if it's going to go through this one yet. This is the ocean monument that once it's drained, I'm just not 100% positive how I want to theme it. I'm leaning towards maybe a nether theme, or even an ancient city theme down there. Maybe get some skulk spreading around. And so this one's going to be a little bit darker, where we've got, lush at the first ocean monument. We've got a nice little dry, arid desert at the second ocean monument. I'm thinking this one's going to be a little bit darker. We've still got a lot of work to do to finish draining it and then to drain the monument itself. But what I see in my head when this is all finished is just going to be amazing. Now, let's go ahead. This line right here, this line of diorite, marks a diameter. Well, it marks 2 radii of the circle, and we will fly to the center point and then fly to the other end so you can get an idea of just how much space we're talking about in this inner circle. So that took me a couple of rockets worth to get over here. Now you'll notice in this one, we transition from dirt to sand, and that transition is very sudden. This is just, this is still a work in progress here. You'll notice on this one, I don't have any buildings in it yet. I've just kind of got the viewing deck on that end. As we come towards the middle here, we're going to try a bit of a gradual transition from dirt into sand, because, of course, the sand will lead us then to the desert biome ocean monument. Still got a little bit of dirt to change out there, but we're going to get maybe some, plant some cactus down in here. Maybe get a couple of buildings similar to these that we'll bring up in here and start populating this area as well. And of course, we're going to get a deck built around here. And I'm actually thinking of tearing out a section of this glass wall and building a boat dock off of this corner, so that people who are sailing over from the walled village would be able to just dock right here, and then we'll have a ladder that'll lead down similar to the first ocean monument area. So this section, I did a quick time lapse of this section just to kind of show the process of building this all. It's really not all that exciting. It's a lot of placing blocks, dropping a dirt block here and there so that we can bring the wall in as we need to. But underwater here, we can kind of see the shape starting to build where we've got this entire tube. Nice little cross section of that. We'll have that. Like I said, the time lapse really isn't that thrilling, but I've got that going on up in the corner there, so you can get a glimpse of what it takes to put this whole thing together. When I'm finished, I anticipate that this will have involved probably all total around 10 double chests full of stone and 10 double chests full of glass. Little bit less for these areas that we cut out, but this is easily the biggest single project I have ever attempted. And so far, especially with the way that these buildings are coming, I am really happy with the way this is turning out. This is not something that I've really seen anybody else do. I'm not going to say it's original. I know other people have probably done it. But this is not one that I have, that I'm trying to copy from anybody. This was just something that I had. Well, I'll tell you what brought it up was when I realized that I had 3 ocean monuments in relative close proximity to one another. I started thinking about how I could join them together. And from a previous video, if you recall, and you may have seen a bit of it here, we've got some tunnels that go under the water that will provide a nice, easy walking path to get between the drained ocean monument areas. But I wanted something more. That underwater tunnel just doesn't really stand out. It doesn't pop. It's nice. I really do like it. I think it's cool. But if you don't know it's there, it's really easy to miss. I wanted something more. Just more. And as I was thinking about what my options were, I remembered a lesson from high school geometry, and I did have to Google this to make sure I remembered it right, that said that, let's see if I can get it. Any 3 points that are not on the same line can have a circle drawn through them. Now, the location of the points will determine how large the circle is, and based on the fact that this is almost 500 blocks across, I did have to find an online calculator to help me figure out my exact placement and location. And I'll tell you, plots.co.uk, plotz.co.uk, is a handy website for designing things like this torus shape or spheres, things like that. Unfortunately, it could not handle a torus as big as I've got here. I wound up having to Google and use some other tools, but I did still use plots.co.uk to help me come up with kind of the circular shape that I wanted for this. The overall torus itself, I had to cobble together some tools, but plots.co.uk is one of the handiest tools for building some of the rounder geometry that people may want in Minecraft. I highly recommend it's an incredibly easy resource to use. Next time you find yourself in need of a dome or a sphere or a circle or anything like that, go out to Plots, and it will make your life so much easier. Now you notice at the center of this circle, I've got a smaller circle that is helping me plot out some of the future build here. This circle is only about, I think its radius is 40, if I remember right. And this circle I did go to plots.co.uk to plan out. But this is going to be part of kind of the interior build, what we might think of as the donut hole to the donut that's out there. Because once this Taurus habitat is finished, we are nowhere close to being done with this building project. I've got so many more things in mind, including that center area where you saw the circle there. I've got something big planned for that. I really hope you guys find it as exciting as I do to see this whole project come together. And this is what I've been spending my time on for about the last 4 or 6 weeks. I've had a little bit of travel in there where I've been out of town a couple of times, had to travel a couple of states away and take one of my kids to college, and went on vacation for a weekend. But when I'm home, I'm here working away at getting this mega build done. Once the structure's in place, we're going to get this whole thing populated with villagers, and this is just going to be an absolutely amazing addition to the world. Thank you so much for coming along with me today, for letting me show you what I've been working on. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have. If you have any questions, any comments, please go ahead and leave those below. I would love it if you'd subscribe to the channel so you get notifications every time I put a new video up. I try to get one up every 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes I'm a little faster, sometimes I'm a little slower, but I'm always working away and continuing the builds here in our world. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and you all have a great one. We will see you in the next video. Bye.